All right. My name is Praful, as I mentioned, and I work with Amazon Payment Services, which is a payment gateway, company. And now, during this session, I would be discussing a little bit on the ransomware um, and how you can defend yourself um, from ransomware, and then just to make it a little bit more interesting, because I believe quite a lot of people in this session come from a strong computer science background. I will try and show some live demo um, on on how attackers actually attack and what kind of tools they use, and um, how complex is the attack or how easy it is the attack, and then how it happens. All right. With that, so let's get into the slides. So apart from me, I also have Shekhar with me, who is the head of information security function at Amazon Payment Services, and he has more than I think 18 years of experience in the industry. Um, yeah, and I work with him, so he leads the information security function at Amazon Payment Services, and I am one of the security engineers in his team, and I look forward to securing Amazon Payment Services as a whole. This is our agenda. So we are starting with an overview of ransomware. We will look at like what is the impact of ransomware on the industry, what attracts cyber criminal towards the ransomware. We'll look at some of the case studies. Then we'll move on to slide number 5, which is some basic security hygiene against ransomware, and then defense in depth, and then detection and recovery mechanisms, and some key takeaways. Somewhere in between this, I'll try and squeeze in demo. Overview of ransomware. So it has actually attracted um, quite a lot of eyes and minds recently, especially during COVID. There were a lot of news around ransomware. What exactly is ransomware? So ransomware is, in simple, what if I have to explain it to, let's say, to a person who is not from information security, I would say ransomware is some kind of a software which attackers install in your system or servers or mobile phones, and that software encrypts um, the data in your system, and then attackers ask and they demand for ransom um, before allowing you to access your data, right? So that is ransomware, right? How do they install ransomware software in your systems? So they could send you, suspicious links. They probably can give you files to download. They can, exploit some um, applications or software in your system which you forgot to update or you never updated. They could leverage some insecure networks, like if you have a weak Wi-Fi network or a weak, you know, computer network, which attackers can leverage. Brute forcing is something that they can do. They can try and guess your passwords of your accounts, online accounts, your servers, your systems, to get into your, computer and get access to your data. Or ransomware software could actually come from a USB drive. So if if as students or faculty members, if you you know have USB drives, and you share data on USB drives, um, then there could be ransomware. So next time you take USB from one of your friend or one of your colleague, there could be ransomware there. Not that your colleague or friend is trying to do a ransomware on you. They Even they themselves may not know that their USB drive or removable storage has ransomware in it. Okay. Uh, so why ransomware? Like, what is so special about ransomware? So because one thing which is really special about ransomware is it involves huge sum of money, um, and attackers especially some of the organized uh, attacker groups, they basically launch campaigns to to do ransomware attacks on personal systems, on organizations, and then they basically just demand a ransom in millions of dollars, um, depending on who is their target. So attractiveness for ransomware, again, it's money, nothing else. So earlier, what used to happen is when attackers they used to attack for fun, they used to attack for, let's say, espionage, or for the purpose of spying on on a nation. But ransomware has basically become a mode wherein attackers are actually able to earn money um, by way of ransom, and that is why ransomware has basically got a lot of traction. And then one more thing which has happened recently is the introduction of cryptocurrency. Earlier, let's say if attackers wanted ransom, they would prefer the ransom to be paid in cash or some physical form, um, so that the money cannot be traced back to them. But with the introduction of cryptocurrency, they can basically do it online without the worry of being traced. So you know involving money plus having money get transferred on cryptocurrency is basically what basically attracted a lot of cyber criminals into getting into ransomware. Okay, so there have been some very uh, 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 famous uh, attacks in the industry. One of them is Petya, in which attackers basically launched some kind of a campaign, and they basically targeted organizations around the world to encrypt their servers or systems, and then demand huge ransom from those companies. So there are two case studies, Petya and not Petya, which we want to mention here. But these are not the only one. Like especially during the COVID period, there have been so many campaigns against organizations, um, which end up adversaries end up demanding a lot of ransom from the organizations. Um, so the total damage from just these two use cases were over $10 billion itself, and some of the major companies were hit by ransomware attacks. Uh, Now I think it's a good time to show you a little bit of a demo on what kind of tools are used and how it actually um, happens. For example, I'll give you one example. Uh, just imagine that as a student, you basically apply um, for a job in a company, or there is an HR, like there is a person pretending to be an HR person from a company, tells you saying that, oh, we have a job opening for a development engineer or a security engineer. Would you be interested? Being a college student, you would definitely say yes, like I would like to know more about it. And then what happens is the person who is pretending to be an HR sends you a document, right? So the person will send you a document which would have a nice job description. It would basically, this document, just imagine it would have some content, um, like job description, experience required, expected package, work location, and everything. What you don't see is these document has a macro. What is this macro? This macro has some malicious code. You probably are not able to identify what does this code do, right? And then this piece of code at the bottom basically makes this macro, this code run as soon as you open the document. Okay, so just imagine you have received a job description um, from an HR, and then as soon as you open the document, this macro would start execution, right? What is this macro? What is this code? You don't know, right? Let me show you what is this code. So what attackers would have done is the person or the team which is pretending to be the HR or a consulting firm or a job recruitment firm, they would basically use um, some tool like this. This tool, I'm basically using a community edition of a tool called Metasploit. Uh, so this is a tool in which they basically generate this kind of a code, wherein I basically specify. Um, let me try. Like you can zoom in if you want. You can zoom in the chime window if it is appearing pretty small to you. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm basically trying to generate a malicious code in which I'm saying, okay, I need connection back to me, that as soon as this code is executed, the victim's system will connect back to me. Let me try and run this again. Okay. So here I'm saying, okay, this is my IP address. As an attacker, I would say, okay, my server is hosted on this IP address and I want the connection back on this port. So I can specify any IP address, I can specify any port. So as an attacker, what I would do, I would set up a server with an IP address, and then I would say, okay, I need to generate a code. So this command is basically generating a code, and at the end, I'm basically specifying that I need the format of the code should be VBA application. VBA application is basically the macro format. What I can do also do is I can say, okay, I don't need it VBA. I basically need a PowerShell code. So I can specify the PowerShell file format, and then it will give me, the source code in a PowerShell format. Now, if you can notice here, this is not a typical code that you might have used during your, software programming classes, right? This is this is not even assembly. This is the um, operational code of the assembly language, right? So every code here is basically uh, an OP code. Like if some of you might have dealt with low-level programming languages, so this is the code um, which basically directly goes into the CPU in this format. So this is how attackers generate code. They specify their IP address and everything, and then they prepare, let's say, documents like this in which they embed the code, right? And then they basically prepare a document. So this could be a document, this could be an Excel file, or anything. And then as soon as you open the document, um, this code would execute, right? I'll show you what happens when the code executes. So what I would do is, right, what I have done is, what I want is as soon as someone opens up that document or executes that PowerShell script, I should be able to get the connection back here. Okay. So I'm basically running a handler. Handler means as soon as someone opens up that document or my PowerShell script, right? They will try to connect back to me. because in my code, I already supplied the IP address and the port number, right? So as per this, I'm basically saying that because I'm doing this demo, so I'm basically connecting, back to the same machine on which the code is run. So I'm using the IP address 127.0.0.1, which basically is the IP address of the local machine, and then I'm using a port number 443, right? And I'm saying that I'm start a listener here, and then I would say exploit. But I would do it. What this tool will do, this tool will actually start a listener here. Okay. Now, if as soon as I run that PowerShell script, which has that code, so I run this PowerShell script. So just imagine that PowerShell script is being run on the victim's computer, or victim has opened up this Word document. The victim will not see this code, right? Victim will see job description. So the victim has opened up the Word document, and then the victim is going through the job description, and it looks very nice, very challenging, very high package, amazing company to work with, all good. I'm getting very happy. But what is happening in the background? Your computer has connected back to the attacker, and attacker now has full control on your computer. So the session got opened, right? So attacker can do sysinfo to get the information about the computer, like what is the name of your computer, what operating system you're running, and all of that. Attacker can actually do shell, and then you have the command prompt here where you can basically run any Windows command, like what are the user accounts which are there, right? And yeah, you can basically attacker can just remotely control this computer from anywhere, right? So in summary, what could have happened is you got a Word document. You open the Word document, you're reading the Word document, and attacker has gotten remote control of your computer. Now using this remote control, attacker can do anything. Attacker can actually place a backdoor, create a backdoor in your computer, and then use your computer as the pivot point to attack other computers in your local network. For example, if this computer is in a college network, let's say this is one of your systems in your college network. Now attacker will use this system to attack other systems in the college network, and that is how it happens. So if you see, if apart from if I minimize this command prompt, you don't see anything. You don't notice anything unnatural. You can even close this word. So you can say, oh, I read through the job description. I like it. I will close it, save it, don't save it, does not matter, right? I like the job description and everything is fine. And you don't notice anything. You basically open up your browser and then you do whatever your daily work, but you don't know that attacker has already got access to your computer, and the attacker now can do anything with the computer. This is how powerful some of the hacking tools are. Now I want to pause here and give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions if you have. This is a very basic demo that I showed. Questions? How many of you are looking at a, go ahead.
Can you show us how it's done, like how this code is written?
How this code is?
The malware, like the tool generated the code, but we don't know the code, so we want to see the code.
You want to see the code? Okay. This is the code. This is the code um, for macro, and then I have different codes. So this is for macro. This is for um, I have one more for PowerShell. This is for PowerShell. So what this code is doing, this code is basically, so this is a technique to bypass antivirus. Some of you were probably thinking, oh, wouldn't a antivirus detect this? Some of the antiviruses may detect it, some of them may not. And the way I am doing it, uh, uh, so I currently I'm using, it's a Windows system, so there is Windows Defender running right now, and yeah, and uh, this code is actually uh, running everything in the memory. So this code does not write a file, and then antiviruses who basically depend on files on the hard disk, they basically say, okay, this is a file, I will check the signature of the file and then I will detect it. This code will be able to bypass all those antiviruses because it is everything is happening in the memory. There is no file getting written on the hard disk. So as soon as you open up the document, the malware runs in the memory of the Word document without writing anything on the hard disk. And that is one of the very effective ways of bypassing an antivirus.
Well, the user has to reconnect, right? Like if he
Yes.
shut down his PC and the port it didn't open a port, he didn't plant a backdoor, you'll have to reconnect. The user have to open the job description again so you can get the SSH connection, right?
Yes, but that's how. Like the first thing which an attacker would do right now, as soon as getting access to the system, the attacker will create a backdoor so that um, I'm not sure if I remember the, yeah, like I'm missing out on the command, but there is a command. Hold on, let's see if, so there is a command here which basically, so like what you can do, let me show you. Um, with this tool, you can actually do a lot of things. You can, oh, there is a lot of things. You can, you can look at the webcam. uh, so you can record the mic, you can look at the webcam, live video of the person. You can dump the passwords. You can, uh, there is an option to make persistent. So there is an option in which you can basically make this backdoor persistent so that every time the system would start, it would it would connect back to the attacker every time the system starts, like without opening any document or anything.
It creates an
Yeah.
auto run.
Sorry.
It creates an
Create,
auto
yes,
run.
create an auto run, some kind of an auto run, not just at one location but at multiple locations.
Well, that's
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah. Uh, sure. Yeah. So like there are so many things: reboot, steal token, suspend, shell. I showed you. Um, user interface. We can
Doesn't
actually take a screenshot. Keylogger. We can do. Go ahead.
doesn't the Wi-Fi at home or the modem doesn't block all the it doesn't reroute traffic, right? Like it should block all the ports. Like if my device has an HTTP server, it does provide
Mm-hmm.
HTTP service, but a device out of the local area network trying to connect,
Yep.
it will not connect, right?
Yes, if it is a, if it is a type of connection where attacker is connecting to you. But if you remember, we basically did a reverse connection. Attackers generally do a reverse connection. This is a reverse HTTP. So in which attacker is not connecting to you, your system is connecting to the attacker. So it does not matter whether you are on a Wi-Fi, you are a server, or you are a mobile phone. Um, your system is connecting to the attacker.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So that was a very simple demo. Now, if let's say you guys are a little bit interested, guys got a little bit attracted, like what is this? You can there is a uh, there is a free course that you can do. This is called Metasploit Unleashed, and it's a free course that you can do only strictly for educational purposes. Okay, just to understand better on how attackers attack, so that you can defend yourself, right? Like maintaining access is one of them, like interpreter backdoors. Like you asked that question, okay, how would the person create a backdoor? So yeah, so there are options on how. So the person would actually install a service, not an auto run, but the person will actually install a service, and the service will automatically run every time the system is start, something like that. So these are some of the options. Okay. If you are using, let me put this link on the meeting window if you are interested in this. All right, coming back, what you can do to protect yourself from ransomware. So this was not a ransomware demo. I did not do any encryption. This was a very basic demo to show you how easy it is for attackers to attack you. They will just send you a link in an email or a software or a document. Now just remember, if like especially students, I have noticed they basically like to use some software without buying the proper license of the software. They download the software or movies or songs from from torrents or other unauthorized locations. Just imagine, why would somebody provide you free things? One of the reason is there is this kind of malware code running in those things. As soon as you run the song, as soon as you run the game, as soon as you run the movie, as soon as you run the software, right? You would not even know the attackers would have already gotten access to your computer, right? And many a times they are not even interested in your data. Many a times they are just building an army of victims. So they would not even do anything to your system. You would not even notice anything suspicious happening in your system, right? But what attackers are doing, they are basically gathering a lot of systems, and then they are maintaining access to them, right? And one sudden day, when they want to launch an attack on a company, instead of attacking from their own servers, they would use your system to attack a company. And then when company would do the investigation, they would see the attack came from your system, right? That's how it happens quite a lot of times as well. So what you can do, set strong passwords and regularly change them. So if people are able to um, like if you have very weak password and they are easy to guess, like summer at the rate 123, and then July at the rate 456, or July at the rate 2022, if or Cairo at the rate 123, if you have passwords like those, like they will get hacked one or the other day, right? Set strong passwords, change them regularly. Enable multi-factor authentication wherever available. Multi-factor authentication is like wherever you have soft tokens, like SMS based one-time passwords, OTP, wherever possible. enable that. Keep all your software up to date. It's very, very important to keep all your software up to date. Backup important data. The only, like if you are not able to do anything and you say, okay, tell me just one thing to do, I would say backup. And segregate the backup. It should not happen that you have the data in your system and you are keeping the backup also in the same system. If the attacker get access to the system, the attacker would first target your backup and then will corrupt your actual data, right? So back up your data and put it in a separate location than your system. Use a licensed antivirus. Yes, bypassing antiviruses is technically possible, but it requires a lot of complexity from a malware perspective. So use a licensed antivirus on your desktops and on your mobile phones as well. Like some of you might have an antivirus on your desktop or laptops, but like not many people use antivirus in mobile phones. So just imagine that this document or some malware got delivered to your mobile phone. Somebody sent you a WhatsApp, somebody sent you an SMS saying that, oh, here is your gift cash voucher. Click here to redeem. You click on that, and then a malware gets downloaded without even you knowing about it. So use antivirus on your mobile and desktops. So this is for your personal data. Now, how do you do it for companies, right? Apart from everything that I mentioned, you basically make sure that you create and maintain an inventory of your IT resources. So here now in this slide, I'm talking about the company. For example, this is for, let's say, when you become an engineer in a company, or let's say the staff which is there in Cairo University, who is basically maintaining the IT infrastructure. This is for them. Okay, create and maintain an inventory of your IT resources, because if you don't know how many servers you have, where are they, how many network devices you have, where are they, how will you secure them? First you need to know what you need to secure, and then only you can secure it, right? I have seen cases wherein companies, they basically say, oh no, we are fully secure, we have fully updated antivirus, we have fully updated our operating systems and everything, and then they don't even know, they think that they have 100 servers, but in fact they have 150 servers. They don't even know about the remaining 50 servers, so they are not monitoring them. Okay, security harden your IT resources following industry benchmark. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Okay, there are industry benchmarks like PCI is there, CIS is there, there are so many industry benchmarks that you can use, which basically tell you what type of security controls you should have in your company uh, to protect from some of the cyber attacks. Perform regular security audits and assessments to identify, if the IT resources are actually following those industry benchmarks or not. Centralize logs from all IT resources for security monitoring and investigation. If an attack happens, logs are your best friend, right? Because if you don't have logs, you would not even know how you got attacked, who attacked you, and the attack would continue to go on. You would say, okay, I fixed it, but next weekend attack happens again. Then you say, oh no, no, I know how it happened. I'm fixing it. I fixed it, and then next weekend the attack happens again. So because you don't have access to the logs, you actually are not able to do a good root cause analysis. Enforce single sign-on with multi-factor authentication, especially in the enterprises when people have multiple applications. For example, in your university, you may have an exam portal, you may have an attendance portal, you may have a project submission portal, you may have what fees submission portal or something. And then if they are different applications, then um, then people would need to remember different usernames and passwords for each website, which will basically, create an insecure environment. So as an enterprise, there should always be a single sign-on with multi-factor authentication, um, right? Apply principle of least privilege. People should only give only privilege that they need, right? If you are trying to install a software, you don't need admin privileges permanently. You need time-bound admin privileges. right? If you are troubleshooting a problem in a system and then somehow you are not able to do it, and then you say, I need admin privilege permanently, and then only I can, fix the issue. That's not the solution, right? Don't start giving away admin permission so loosely to everyone. Okay. Set up VPN for secure remote access, right? Especially in this in the COVID era, in the COVID time, when people were actually working remotely, and then quite a lot of people were connecting to, let's say, airport Wi-Fi's or coffee Wi-Fi's or restaurant Wi-Fi's or any kind of public Wi-Fi's, right? All the data, if not encrypted, can be viewed by other people who are attacking, who are on the Wi-Fi. For example, if I go to a cafe and that cafe has a public Wi-Fi, everybody is using the public Wi-Fi. All the people who are drinking coffee, eating food are using the public Wi-Fi. An attacker goes into the same cafe, orders a coffee, sits on the laptop, and you never know, the attacker is actually using a tool to look at all the data which is being transferred on the network, including the username, including the password, everything. You don't even know, right? So set up a VPN for secure remote access so that by default all the network traffic from the system to the company's network is encrypted by default. Okay. How do you detect and recover from ransomware? First of all, you have to understand what is ransomware, what are some of the tools, what are some of the techniques attackers use, right? Implement security detection alerts, um, conduct ransomware simulation exercise to make sure that whatever detection alerts you have defined, they are working as expected. Document a backup recovery procedure and regularly test your backup recovery. These are the things that you can do to detect or recover from ransomware attacks at a high level. So key takeaways is the basically just the summary of everything I just mentioned, and we can open up for another session of question answers. Any questions, doubts, clarifying thoughts from anyone? Maybe I was so clear, or maybe I was not at all clear.
You were so clear.
Thank you.
All right. No questions at all. Generally during the demo, I I get a lot of questions. Like people get really excited about seeing things happening instead of just slides, and then people have a lot of questions. Um, but okay. All right. Let's see how many people are there. So 24 people are currently here, including myself. Um, all right.
Praful, would it
So
make sense for you to ask questions and see who can answer them?
that's a very good idea. All right. Um, has any one of you actually tried something hands-on in terms of attack tools like the one I showed? Has anyone of you tried anything?
Hi, my name is Farah. I didn't
Sure.
it actually a tool or a code, but in my master's, my aim is to launch a DDoS attack, small one actually,
Mm-hmm.
but not a real
Mm-hmm.
one, just to simulate the attack. So just I wrote a small code to launch that attack, but not very deep like the ones that you showed us. So
Sure.
just the aim was to just to send a lot of requests, dummy requests, just to overload the server. But I didn't write like this code before. So this was interesting because my aim in
I think
the PhD also to be about security, hopefully.
I think what you actually tried is a denial of service, not a DDoS, because in a DDoS, whatever script you wrote, that script should be running hundreds, if not thousands of systems, not your own
Yes, I
system.
launched. I launched it from multiple devices, but of course,
Yes,
just like a chat simulation. It's not actual, of course.
yes,
Just on
yes.
a small scale, it was to
And that's how DDoS actually happens. So, for example,
yes,
like I showed this system got attacked by an attacker. Now attacker knows this is a system that they can remotely control. So attacker group, they would basically have similar victims available, and then whatever script you wrote, they will download the script on the victim machine and then run it one fine day. And then especially with the Internet of Things coming, wherein a fridge has a motherboard, a fan has a motherboard, electrical lights have motherboard. With all these IoT devices, that has actually made attackers' job easy, because you don't install an antivirus if you have a smart fridge. You don't install an antivirus if you have a smart TV. Now, if attackers were able to get access to that smart TV or a smart fridge or a smart fan or a smart AC,
yeah.
right? They can actually
Yes,
use
yes.
them
Incident,
to launch
yes, incident like this
distributed denial of
already
service.
happened before. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Like I think there was a casino that some money was stolen because they attacked the IoT device in the tank fish. They attacked the IoT of the thermometer of the fish tanks, and they were able to access the money of the casino, and they stole it. Just,
yes,
I don't remember
yes.
when actually, but
Awesome. Uh, anyone else who have tried anything a little bit hands-on?
Full server costs a lot of money.
Sorry.
Doesn't running a command and control server costs a lot of money? Like you have to benefit, right?
Yes, it's an
Like a hacker
investment
has.
for attackers.
I know it's an investment, but it's a risky one.
Yes. So what they do is, instead of hosting the server on their own, what they would do, some attacker groups actually do this. So they would attack an organization server. So they would find easy to attack websites. They would attack those websites, and they would use their servers um, to host the connections. And then the victims are not connecting uh, when they are connecting to the attacker server. The attacker server is actually another organization's server which attackers attacked. So at the end, attackers are not actually paying anything. They are actually attacking a company to use their servers to host their connections. That also happens a lot.
Mostly hospitals, right?
Mostly.
Because they have. I mean, I read it online. I'm not sure.
So I was not able to get your point. If you can repeat it for me, please.
They attack hospitals, right? Because they have bad security, usually.
Uh, it's really hard to single out any particular
Praful, can I take that?
type. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I didn't see the name of who asked the question, but essentially, attackers want to go after targets where there's some kind of sensitive information, right? Whether it's payment information. Hospitals is a good example because, there are patient records, medical information, which are often valued in the black market. So yes, hospitals are targeted, but I think there are multiple industries, where like attackers can gain from getting access to sensitive information.
And during COVID
I
period, a
think
lot of hospitals were targeted. There was a
also
surge
devices
in the
like
attacks on
pacemaker.
hospitals.
I think
Please
also
go ahead.
devices like pacemaker and devices responsible of the heartbeats and stuff like this. If someone wants to hurt the patient, uh, if this
Yes,
all device
I
contains IoT, this will be a disaster. It's not an attack
I
on
can
the
tell you.
hospital itself, maybe on the patient himself.
Yes, I can actually tell you a second-hand story. Like it did not happen with me, but I heard it from someone with whom it happened. So there was a hospital which was a very kind of a big hospital, and they basically invited a security information security company to do a penetration test on them. And then when the penetration testing team was actually doing the penetration test, they were actually able to get access to a lot of systems. And and when they were after the penetration testing completed, and they were discussing reports with the management of the hospital, and they were showing, okay, we got access to this system, we got access to that system. And coincidentally, uh, one of the during that meeting, the management told, oh, this system, this is a robotic surgery system. And then when at the time when this penetration testing was happening, and at the time when you got access to the system, like this system was actually used to perform a surgery on a real patient. So if you would have done even a little tiny bit of disruption in that, it could have, the result could have been disastrous. Yeah. So yeah, like
The robot,
automated surgery and all of that, very
there is an
dangerous.
automated surgery by robot. But of course, this is a simple surgery, right? Something standard. That's a new information to me.
Yeah, like some robotic surgery was happening, and then yeah, the system basically, like surprisingly, the system was running on Windows XP because like uh, like it is easy for us to say upgrade all the systems, okay? But when we talk about embedded devices, like systems which are not typical servers, upgrading an operating system is really really hard. Like I have seen when I visit some of the ATMs, um, right, and they start throwing some error, I can see Windows XP running there, and it's really hard to upgrade those systems, which are not regular systems. It was really surprising to see, like some of the national in some of the countries, some of the critical infrastructure devices, they still run on outdated programming languages and outdated operating systems. Yeah,
And I
not a
think
good
Windows,
posture.
Windows in general is not recommended. Unix or Linux is much better, right? Or you don't want to comment on that?
Yeah, and I don't want to say Windows is insecure, but because a lot of people use Windows on their systems, it is generally the most targeted operating system. Yeah, that much I can say. Like security vulnerabilities do exist in Linux and Unix, even in Mac. Security vulnerabilities exist everywhere. It is just that if I'm an attacker and I want to target um, a lot of people, um, naturally I will create a ransomware um, which targets Windows systems because I know a lot of individuals use Windows on a daily basis. So that is why that reputation has happened.
But it can be that easy, right?
It's not very easy. It's very complex.
The attack you did,
that was
it can
that
be
was the easiest. That was the easiest attack.
I've been learning cybersecurity for like 3, 4, 5 months, something like that. And if it was that easy, like why I'm still struggling, right?
And that is why I think sessions like these make a lot of sense. And I think professors at your university, I think, are doing the right thing because when you are studying, uh, in an educational institute, uh, like generally there is a lack of connect, and there is a gap between what what you study versus what you are expected to do in an organization. And I think sessions like these and industry trainings and summer trainings and internships are some of the things which basically attempt to fix that gap. Now you know, like there is a tool like which is called Metasploit, and this is just one of the tools. Like there are thousands, if not millions, of tools which exist, which basically do this thing, like attacking a network, attacking passwords, attacking systems, servers, applications. Like there are quite a lot of tools which attackers use um, to do this. What you saw today was the simplest attack. Just imagine what some of the complex attacks would look like.
I've been learning for 2 years, but it's 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 like being lost in the sea. Like now I have experience being lost in the sea, but I'm still lost.
In information security, you will always be lost. I feel myself lost in the sea. Not in the sea. I feel myself lost in the ocean. And then I reach out to Shaker saying that I feel lost. What do I do? I don't know what to do. Yeah. But yeah, like what is the solution? Continuous learning. Try and attend industry conferences. I'm not sure. I'm not aware of any information security specific conference that happens in Egypt. But yeah, feel free to um, um, explore more opportunities, talk to people, and then your career progression would look like this. You will get into information security as a journalist, right, where you have a little bit information about every topic in infosec. You know a little bit about Windows, you know a little bit about Linux, you know a little bit about programming, you know a little bit about antivirus, you know a little bit about web applications. So you know a little bit about everything, right? You are not even a jack of all trades. You are basically just a little bit of information about everything. And then when you get into a company and when you start working on um, on on information security, as a team, that's when you basically start to identify your strengths and your interest areas. So you may say, I like cryptography more, I like systems more, I like network more, I like web application more. And then you would start to develop your specialization. And so once you have developed the specialization, you will again, there would be a time in your career wherein you would again go back being a generalist, because as you develop a specialization in information security and you go up the organization hierarchy, you would reach a position where you would be expected not to do anything but to consult and advise other security engineers. And to do that, you basically have to adopt a general infosec, right? So you basically come back to a generalist road. So you start as a generalist, and then you develop a specialization, uh, and then you again, start working as a journalist. And after that, you basically become hyper focused on one very very specific uh, technology. For example, after spending 10 15 years in the industry, you basically reach a position where you are consulting other junior staff or consulting other business teams within the organization on how to protect the entire infrastructure or entire software, right? After that, if you want, you can become, that is called a hyper specialization, where you would basically go into the research field and you would start applying for patents and all of that, and that is where some of the people who are fortunate enough basically achieve that hyper specialization. That's how it happens, but you will always be lost throughout. All
Well,
right.
seems promising. Thank you for your guidance.
Awesome. Any other question before we wrap up? All right. Any other closing remarks from Professor Mohammed or Professor Shaimaa before we wrap up?
Professor Shaimaa, do you want to say something?
Thank you. I would like to thank you for the information presented today.
Sure.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. All right. With that, we can wrap up the session. Thank you all for attending, and then all the best for your examination results. I understand from Professor Mohammed that your exams ended today. All the best for your results. Do enjoy some free time before you get your results, and then you get all tensed again. So try and have some good time, and we hope to deliver these kind of sessions more often, and probably try and include more hands-on, more demo, uh, and less slides.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I'm not a specialist, but I like it very much. And also, I got my stomach running. I was so afraid.
If you are connecting from a hotel, it look like, don't connect to the hotel Wi-Fi.
I'm already. It's a club. That's Wi-Fi.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you soon again sometime. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.